Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. We're joining you live from the CNN News 18 and Federal Bank Primetime Studio. After honouring a Nazi, the Canadian Parliament has now eulogized a terrorist. To mark the one-year anniversary of the Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar's death, Canada's House of Commons held a moment of silence on Tuesday. This once again brings to fore Canada's, or at least the current dispensation's, ugly politics over Khalistan extremism on its soil. Forget what they believe about India's role in Nijjar's killing. This is a man who by no means, by no stretch of imagination, was a role model whose killing deserved this honour in the country's parliament. The Canadian government actions have become a joke. Nijjar, the chief of Khalistan Tiger Force, was killed in a targeted shooting in Canada's Surrey on June 18th last year. His name was on the list released by the Indian government with 40 other designated terrorists. Remember, this is a guy who entered Canada in 1997 under fake passport, had his refugee claim rejected, and who married a woman to sponsor him for immigration only for that to be rejected too. Today, of course, political compulsions are that Canada Parliament is honouring him as some sort of a saint. Now, in response to this, the Indian Consulate General in Vancouver has announced a memorial service instead to honour the 329 people killed in the 1985 Khalistani bombing of the Air India Kanishka aircraft, whose 39th anniversary is coming up on June 23. The question we asked today is fairly simple. Has the Canadian government actually revealed its true reasons for raising Nijjar's killing with India in the manner that it did, with this moment of silence that they have observed? Has it revealed that it isn't so much about some rule-based order issue, but a deeply political move to appease a section on their soil? Has Canada, in fact, committed a self-goal by eulogizing a terrorist? We'll take that to our guest joining us in just a bit. Now, the biggest question is, why would Canada do something like this? What on earth would compel Trudeau and his dispensation to honour a man who at best was a thug and at worst a terrorist? Well, here are some reasons. First up, let's not forget that this could be plain and simple an attempt to secure votes from radical Sikhs in Canada. According to the 2021 census, the population of Canada is 3.7 crores. Of this, 16 lakh, or about 4%, are Indian origin, and Sikhs are about half of that. This could also be an attempt to divert attention from China's interference in Canadian politics, which is actually a bigger threat or a more clear and present danger for Canadians. This could be done with an eye to cut rival Jagmeet Singh's hold on K elements in Canada, but at the same time, this could also be to ensure continued support from Singh's NDP for the alliance that Trudeau depends on. And finally, it's not really surprising because a lot of Western countries, particularly Canada and US, have in some way or the other used the K threat as a continuous policy to arm twist India. Canada, of course, has been a leader in this. Just to highlight the point of how far Canadian politics has gone in appeasing such sections, take a look at Nijjar's rap sheet. I mentioned, of course, how he entered Canada illegally, and in the past, he wasn't really looked at very favorably. But since 1984, he's been radicalizing youth. He's accused of funding secessionist activities in Punjab, instigating anti-India activities and more. Almost 3 decades later, in 2015, a lookout circular was issued against Nijjar, and in 2016, a red corner notice was issued against him as well. More than 10 FIRs were pending against him in India, including in the 2007 Ludhiana blast that killed 6 and injured around 40. He is believed to have trained the likes of Hardeep Singh to kill RSS leaders. And in January 2021, he attempted an attack on a Hindu priest. His alleged involvement in tiffin bomb attacks is also under lens. And in 2020, his name, as I said, was on the list released by the Indian government with 40 other designated terrorists. The allegations that have been made by Canada were first levelled by them, but its allies soon put their weight behind those charges. So the Five Eyes, which is an intelligence alliance comprising of Australia, Canada, New Zealand, UK and US, have been quick to raise questions on India on Nijjar's killing, but India has remained firm despite what some would call bullying of the worst order. Let me just break down how India has taken on all the charges that have been leveled against it by all of these Five Eyes countries. So, of course, Canada was the first one. Justin Trudeau told his House of Commons that they were credible allegations that India orchestrated Nijjar's killing. India, of course, has denied any official role right at the outset. A Five Eyes partner, United States, claimed there was shared intelligence on the matter and sought accountability in the case, to which India simply asked, where is the evidence of involvement of any Indian official? Australia called the charges leveled by Canada concerning, and they have said that they're monitoring the probe. They've been a little bit less severe. India's Ministry of External Affairs has slammed the fact that there is a prejudging of the case without actual any proof being presented or even a trial that has happened. United Kingdom echoed Australia. While they said that the charges were serious, they of course have maintained that this doesn't impact their ties with India. New Delhi has maintained that Canada's charges are absurd and motivated. And only one of the Five Eyes partner was a little skeptical, which was New Zealand, that actually questioned publicly the lack of evidence in the matter. India, meanwhile, also formed a high-level committee, even as it continued to demand proof. Now, both Canada and US have blamed India for orchestrated targeting killings on its soil against Sikh separatists. US is prosecuting, for example, an Indian national for an alleged plot to murder another Khalistani, Sikhs for Justice chief Pannu. What's happened in that case? The Indian national Nikhil Gupta was just a few days ago extradited to the US in that case. He's accused in the murder plot of K-terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Pannu. Gupta was arrested in Czech Republic, in fact, on June 30 last year, and he was implicated in this plot to hire a hitman to kill Pannu. Pannu, of course, has not been killed. US has claimed that an Indian official instructed Gupta, which is why they are also insisting that there is some Indian role. Nikhil Gupta, through his lawyer, has denied these charges. He's actually also pleaded not guilty in US court after being brought there. Meanwhile, New Delhi has once again denied any involvement of any Indian in the plot. With that, the big question we're asking today is simply this: has Canada committed a self-goal of sorts because of their great honor and eulogy for a person who was, in India's eyes, a terrorist, but even in Canada was a source of great nuisance? So, with eulogizing a terrorist, have they really revealed their true intentions and conducted or committed a self-goal? That's coming up with our experts.
There is an agreement to observe a moment of silence.
Let's go across to our experts. Joining us, Ashok Sajjanar is former Indian diplomat. Madhav Nalapat is Director of Geopolitics and International Relations, also UNESCO Peace Chair at Manipal University. We're joined by Lieutenant General K.J. Singh, former GOC in Chief, Western Command of the Indian Army, and R.P. Singh, National Spokesperson of the BJP, is also joining us. Let me begin with R.P. Singh. In fact, this is about politics, no denying. This has also been some sort of a shadow boxing that has been going on with Canada, with US, with the Five Eyes in general. Many suspect this has something to do with the fact that India is no longer so easily arm-twisted when it comes to foreign affairs. But has the Indian government also failed to kind of, make any difference as far as this matter is concerned, because look at what Canada is doing today. It doesn't care about its relationship with India.
Well, Shivani, you rightly put it, that it is politics more than anything else. It's the politics of the Canada and the political compulsion for Mr. Trudeau that he is to stay in power, and to stay in power, his number doesn't tally, and he needs support of radicals to support him in the Canadian Parliament. So he will go to any extent, because he is one of the most unpopular Prime Minister there right now. All the surveys, everything shows that he is very unpopular now, and then if the elections are held any time, he might not come back. We can't say anything about internal politics of the Canada, but all what you read here in newspapers, or what we see on TV channels here, or the YouTube or the social media here, is that he is highly unpopular. So to safeguard his seat, to safeguard his position in the Parliament, he can go to any extent.
But sir, can I just come in? Just a brief interruption. Generally when it comes to foreign affairs matters, I know that Canada particularly has a very bad record when it comes to Khalistani extremism on its soil. I mean, look at what they did when it came to the Kanishka bombing investigation. But generally, prime ministers in an establishment are not allowed to tinker with their foreign policy to the extent that they destroy a relationship with a country, a friendly country, by the way, to the extent where there might not be a point of any return, just to safeguard their chair. So this isn't just about Trudeau in that sense. This is clearly Canada not really caring about where Indo-Canadian relationships go, just for this Nijjar fellow.
Well, it's not just Nijjar, as you rightly put. It's the chair which is more important, is staying in power which is more important than just Trudeau. Just Nijjar. So he'll go to any extent to safeguard his seat, his chair, his position in the Parliament, and then for that regard, he is prepared to make any compromise. But I was going to Nijjar itself. Before you talk about Nijjar as a person and what he has done, and all those cases he had in India, the FIR, the Red Corner notice and everything. The whole of this thing started with killing of Ripu Daman Singh Malik. I'm just naming one name. Ripu Daman Singh Malik was part of the gang which will be anti-India gang, and he was part of the Kanishka bombing also. And he got scot-free from the case after the long drawn case in the courts. He got the clearance from on the case. So, but Ripu Daman Singh changed his heart, and then he probably at the later stage of the age, he thought that what he was doing was not right. So he wanted to come to India also, and he came to India. He apologized for what was done. So that started the bickering, and then Nijjar got Ripu Daman Singh Malik killed. I'm saying on record, he got Ripu Daman Singh Malik killed, and that led to the rivalry part, whereas the people who were close to Ripu Daman Singh Malik, or who were associates of Ripu Daman Singh Malik, they probably would have got Nijjar killed also.
Right.
So this is how the complete thing has started. But again, another 1 second. And then the Canadian government, under the pressure of the radicals or the support of the radicals, they are going to this extent that they always talk about credible allegation. Have they ever given any evidence? And when you ask them what is the evidence, no, they will not talk about any evidence. So it's easy for them, but India is not India which used to be in 80s or 90s or 2000. It's India which is in 2024, and then which is being led by Prime Minister Modi, which can't be arm twisted by all these tactics which Canada is trying to apply, or
but
even other countries.
What is clear is that Canada is not giving this up anytime soon. The other countries may blow a little hot and cold depending on some of their other concerns with India, but certainly Canada has decided under Trudeau that this is the path that they have to take. Madhav Nalapad, how do you look at this? Because from the outside, it almost sounds hilarious that they should honor this man. Like I said, whatever their contention on Nijjar's killing may be, on India's role, etc., Why would you honor him, a man like that with such shady credentials and past, such a checkered past, with a moment of silence in Parliament?
Well, the fact is, Shivani, that Parliament sometimes act on wrong information, and you correctly mentioned the case of that Ukrainian who basically was supporting the Nazis and who was responsible for the killing of hundreds of people, and he was a great honor in the Canadian Parliament. As far as this, I quite agree with you. We should never use the glorious word Khalistan in the context of these terrorists, because they are linked to a country which has been, frankly, which has seen the worst possible genocide of one of the most noble communities in the world, the Sikh community. So it is a K group. You can never call it the Khalistani group. And secondly, if you look at the Sikh principles, they're completely averse to any form of terrorism. Their principles are based on protecting the innocent, in fact, of being bountiful, and they're completely averse to this kind of activity. Now, my point is, Shivani, which you correctly raised, two things. You raised that. One, yes, Trudeau is very anxious to shift the spotlight from China to India. He has got extensive linkages with China. Obviously, he would not want that to be revealed, because the more and more the activities of China are making the PRC quite toxic in Canada, in the United States, in the West. So he wanted to shift attention from China to India. And the second thing is, democracy is a battle of narratives. I do believe, frankly, that there has been a narrative about this gentleman being anything other than what he was, a confirmed terrorist who is responsible for so many deaths. And
No,
it's good
so,
that,
in the case of the Nazi soldier, for example, one could say that not much was known about him by the time he was selected or brought to the parliament, and then, things started pouring out later. We are a full 365 days post Nijjar's killing. And I'm sure this personality, this entity, and even the organization that he headed, his activities, have been talked about threadbare in Canada. So I am not so willing to believe that the public there or the government there or the organization and the establishment doesn't know what he stood for or what his shady dealings were. But to bring down the honor of your parliament, to honor him, that smacks, that reeks of politics.
I'd like to say that it is, to be frank with you regarding narratives, I think, as you correctly said, there was information about this Nazi that was available. But the fact is, I'm not talking about Justin Trudeau and his coalition. They have certain compulsions which make them support this K group. But the other parties, and from that point of view, immediately after this Nazi was honored, a huge flood of information came all across Western networks. And if you look at the information flow that has happened about this K network, for example, the mayhem that has been caused in Punjab in the 1980s, the horrible mayhem, the suffering of the Punjabi people, and the number of killings that these people have done, I frankly feel that we need to fill, even in Western chat rooms, Western online forums, Western media, factual information.
So you're saying there's a void that India needs to actively fill. Ashok Sajjanhar, have we failed in that then? A full year later, Canadians seem to be okay with this man and his killing being, marked by a moment of silence. It seems to me also, if we were to be a little bit self-critical, that we have failed to convince those who are open-minded in Canada about how dangerous Nijjar was.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shivani. Thank you for having me. Possibly I will not use the word fail. What I could say is that more could possibly have been done. India has been very categorical. India has been very assertive that, Canada is providing political space to elements that are inimical to India. that are threatening India, that are threatening the top political leadership of India, that is threatening the Indian diplomats, the Indian High Commissioner in Canada. So they have been providing political space to such elements. And Canada has been insensitive to India's concerns because, we have been sending out so much of information. We've been telling Canada that we need to extradite these people so as to face justice, as to face charges. Canada has taken no cognizance of that. So, we have been trying to send this message out. But I would tend to agree with you, and I would tend to agree with my good friend Madhav, that there is not enough information and knowledge about this whole issue as to how it has evolved. So possibly we can do, maybe not only through the AGs, not only through the instrumentation of the Indian High Commissioner and the Indian CGs, the Consulates General which are there, but I think through certain other influential people and organizations, think tanks, etc., I think we could possibly send out this information in a more persuasive manner. You see, sending out this information, Shivani, I have been in many of these embassies and high commissions in different parts. When the embassy says, when a government says, it tends to be viewed in a sort of a colored fashion, that is the official position. But I think if there are people who are coming, let's say from the field of journalism, let's say from the field of academics, intellectuals, other personalities, think tanks from universities, I think then that has much greater impact and influence, and possibly more could be done. But I think India has made out its case very strongly because, as was mentioned by, just one last point, by Mr. R.P. Singh, that you keep talking about credible allegations, etc. And it is, you have not provided any evidence, and we have told them right from the beginning that if you have any facts, if you have any substantive information, share that with us. Until very recently, our External Affairs Minister said that Canada has not come to us with any information of that.
What our External Affairs Minister, Lieutenant General KJ Singh, has also reminded Canada is, of course, snakes in your backyard kind of an analogy. Look at what a lot of these extremists in Canada are involved in: gang wars, drug trade, etc. They're not by no means quote-unquote activists. Even if Canada was to use that line that, we are for free speech and free expression, and even if you disagree with, the politics of a certain group, we are going to allow it on our land, fair enough. But these are not really elements that are indulging in free speech and expression alone. They actually are thugs who also intimidate others from the Sikh community in Canada from speaking out their nationalistic point of view. What do you make of this politics that Canada seems to be in the grip of, this Khalistani politics?
Shivani, see, currently Canada is being ruled in a coalition kind of an arrangement. The party, Liberal Party, has to draw support from the New Democratic Party, which is led by Jagmeet Taliban. You would know that 16 Sikhs are members of parliament. 4 months down the line, there is elections on 20th October. There is compulsion, which is a very contradictory kind of compulsion to build up a narrative. And Indian Consulate has announced that on 23rd June, 39th anniversary of Kanishka bomb blast and that horrific killing of 329 innocent passengers, including 86 children, is going to be commemorated in the Air India Memorial at Stanley Park, Vancouver. Now, these are all emerging kind of situations, and June is very difficult month for Sikhs. It's a Blue Star anniversary. There are large number of these kind of connected kind of events. Only about 10 days back in Brampton, another disgusting kind of rally was taken out where Mrs. Gandhi's W was there. So all this has been happening in Canada. And you're right. There are fugitives from India like Goldie Brar, like Landa, They are hiding over there. They are sheltered in Canada. And what is worse for us is they are vectoring criminal activities in India. Very significant number of criminal activities like bomb blasts and other things in court complexes and all have been traced back to these guys. They are providing armaments, training, financing. So it's right for us to get concerned. NIA has listed had listed Nijjar among the 40 terrorists, notified terrorists. And we were in the process of getting a red corner and other such notices issued for them. And like what RP Singh has said, it is a process of engagement. Somewhere Ripu Daman Singh Malik had come around to this view that he had made a mistake. So Indian agencies multilaterally are engaged in trying to
Okay.
get
Can
them onto
Can I ask
correct
you?
path.
Can I ask you before I go across for a final word to the rest of the panel as well, Lieutenant General, what do you think would be that one thing that you would like to see India do as far as this matter is concerned with Canada that we haven't done so far?
I would like to endorse what Ambassador Sajjan Har has said and some others have said. It is possible for us to go there, and in the sense some think tanks and other organizations like this anniversary which is going to be commemorated. Is there a case for some people to go from India to make a big kind of an event out of it? Because after all, narratives are being set. And to somehow bring focus on the fact that the person that you are honoring was indeed a terrorist. And Shivani, one last point. I have said in other channels also, it is little controversial. My belief is Nijjar was a Canadian operative. This kind of love for him, this kind of allegiance to him, after all, these people have their own operatives
Yes.
who have been working with them.
Yeah,
So
and
this is my-
maybe this moment of silence, going that extra mile for Nijjar has proven exactly what everybody's suspicion was, that he was an asset for them, and that's why there is so many tears for him. But Professor Nalapad, 30 seconds to you. Do you expect the Five Eyes pressure on India to increase, and do you believe India can stand firm, because there are many other spokes in the wheel?
Shivani, India is standing firm and will continue to stand firm. The problem is we're talking about 1984. It was unforgivable what happened in 1984. There's no question. But it is completely dwarfed by what happened in 47, in 46 and 48. And that happened in Pakistan. Secondly, geopolitics has changed. In 1984, Indira Gandhi was still into the Indo-Soviet period of friendship. And now Prime Minister Modi has joined the Quad. He has just gone to the G7. There's been a complete geopolitical transformation of Indian policy. But regrettably, the Western policy towards the K group has remained fixated on what it was during a period when India was seen as an ally of the Soviet Union and was seen as therefore hostile to the West.
Okay.
They have unfortunately not adjusted. And I think, Shivani, it's important, as has correctly been said, that this narrative cannot only be built G to G or government to people. It's got to be people to people as well. And
Well, India
people
has
to
such a
government.
huge diaspora in Canada, and maybe they can tap on the right-minded people amongst that diaspora to do so. You don't really need Indians living in India to do so. But Ashok Sajjanhar, final 30 seconds to you too. I want to understand from you, where you think this matter will go. Aside from Canada, how do you see the rest of the Western world reacting and picking it?
I think India needs to stay firm, Shivani, and I think push back against any sort of pressure that is being brought on us. You asked the question about Five Eyes. Let me say the pressure particularly from the United States, because, any evidence or something that seems to be there, it seems to be with the United States. Canada has nothing. Canada has zilch, because if it had anything, it would have shared with India. Whatever it might be able to share, I think those are morsels that are handed over to it, maybe by the United States. But I think I also agree with General KJ Singh that people like Nijjar and Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, these are assets. Otherwise, why would, government of the United States be willing to let the relationship with India be a hostage to what Gurpatwant Singh Pannu is doing?
Yeah.
He is threatening to blow up aircrafts. He is threatening to kill our Prime Minister. But still, there is no action.
Yeah, actually, Pannu's case is even worse than Nijjar's case in many senses.
It's much worse, and no action is being taken by the US administration. And you see, when charges are being framed against, Nikhil Gupta, there is that holier-than-thou attitude that we will not allow anyone to come into our country and, impact on the security of American citizens. Meaning, this is hypocrisy of the highest order.
And
So
we have discussed that
back.
hypocrisy, of course, in the last 1 year, especially since this Nijjar case came to light. Hardeep Singh, I'll give you the final 30 seconds as well. This is going to be one of Modi 3.0's tests, isn't it, when it comes to foreign affairs and diplomacy? It's clear that Canada, maybe backed by US, not overtly but covertly, is not letting this go.
Well, Shivani, let me just read out what one of the supporters of the government, their NDP, the National Democratic Party, Jagmeet Singh, has just said a few days back, some 10 days back. He says that we know that the Canadian Prime Minister is not democratic, but will still support the minority government because his suits is there in the interview. I was just going through the interview of Mr. Jagmeet Singh. And Jagmeet Singh is a known supporter of the Khalistani and known supporter of the radicals in the Western world. But that point aside, if foreign countries, the Western countries think they can use certain assets, I'm saying for them, Nijjar was an asset, or for them, Pannu is an asset. They can use that asset to arm twist India. Go another time. I mean, we will face it, and then we will face it hard, and then we'll give them back, because we are not going to be cowed down by elements who want to break this country.
Maybe that's causing a greater sense of unease as well amongst those who had become very used to using the quote-unquote rule-based order according to their conveniences. I do thank all of our guests for joining us. RP Singh will continue with us, because coming up after a very short break, we focus on the national capital, Delhi, which is suffering almost in an unprecedented manner because of rising temperatures, and to add to that is water scarcity. So who's accountable really for this, and when will the blame game end? We'll be back with more on that.